Okay. Hi, welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Loreli, and she has had four near-death experiences, and she is ready to dive right in, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me, Peggy. I appreciate it.
Okay, you go right ahead.
Okay, well, my name is Loreli Drache. I have had four near-death experiences, Peggy said, and many spiritual and paranormal experiences as well. My very first experience was when I was 7 years old. I went for a walk with my aunt, uncle, and my brother to our quarry. We lived on like a 191-acre farm. And they used to get gravel, and they hit like a natural spring. So it was like 30 foot deep. And my brother and my uncle went to the other end, which was very shallow. It's where the bluegill spawn. They wanted to check out for fishing. So anyway, I was with my aunt at the 30-foot deep end where we had built a pier. I decided, little me, I wanted to go check out the water, as we all know children will do. So I walked down and the cliff and out the pier, and I was standing near the end of the pier, and my aunt's like, "Well, I need to check on your uncle. Are you gonna be okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just standing here. I'll watch and be careful." And so she's like, "Okay." So she started to head down the path towards my uncle. It was really bright that day, and there was like reflections off the water. So I started to feel lulled, and I felt like I was like literally rocking with the pier. So I moved to the other side of the pier, hoping that the sun glare, wouldn't daze me. And the next thing I honestly remember was being in the water and feeling my body sink, and I was screaming underwater because I didn't even know how I got there, and it was ice cold, and I was just like, you know, and realizing that I was doing that, all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I can't take a breath in or I'll drown. I said, I'm drowning. I'm going to die. And and I was seeing the bubbles, and the minute I said, I'm going to die, I was just literally released from my body, and I was watching it sink. And then I was seeing all my relatives, my uncle down at the other end with my brother, and watched them look in the water before they realized I had fallen in. And I saw my aunt going down the path, but she'd started to turn around. I don't know if she heard me fall in. I don't know what happened as far as that, but I noticed she had turned. And then she was yelling for my uncle. Oh my God, she fell in, and and then I could hear like my brother's thoughts. He was like, can I swim faster or can I run faster to get her? And in spirit, because I was already above, I'm laughing because I'm going, you can't swim that fast. You're not gonna get to me. And I was like, why is he thinking that? And then my uncle was like, oh my God, the first thing he thought is they're gonna blame us, and if something happens to her. And my aunt, meanwhile, was thinking, like, how am I going to save her? My aunt and I, neither one could swim. Silly, right? But she couldn't swim either. So she's trying to think, how can I get her? And then I see my mom back at the farm, because I feel like I'm like miles above. I could see everything going on. And my mom was cooking dinner in the kitchen, and she was wondering, like, if we caught anything and when we'd be back, so she could kind of time that. I think it was chili she was making. And simultaneously, at the same time, all of a sudden, like, I left. I was up suddenly in like this cloudy mist is the next thing I remember. And I knew there was a being with me, not like next to me, almost like a guide or something to the left. I just sensed a presence. I didn't see a physical body. I didn't see anything until all of a sudden I remember just looking up, and there was like the brightest light. I mean, you can't describe it here in that sense. It's like megawatt, and I knew there was a presence within it. Like I could kind of make the outline, and it went from this bright white to a bright yellow, and then slowly turned to shades of amber. And I knew there was something behind this being, but you're almost kind of looking up, like I know there's pictures. Some people say like you're on steps, it was almost like that. But I was looking up at this being, and like a telepathically, I could just hear, them telling me that I had to go back. It wasn't my time, and I remember like just arguing with this being, it had a male voice, very authoritatively, but loving said, you have to go back. There are things you need to do. And I'm like, no, you can't make me go back to that trauma. I had a very traumatic childhood. So I was like, you can't. And plus, I think by then I had seen everything that was, because my life path, because everything was deja vu after this experience. So I know I've seen what was going to be happening to me. So I'm like, no, please don't make me go back. I had still the understanding somewhat of a 7-year-old, but yet everything flooded. You feel so free. There was this overwhelming sense of love, like a parental love times a zillion, and peace. And you just did not want to leave this. I mean, it was like, I'm here, I'm safe. I don't need to go there anymore. I'm free. And so I was like, no, please. And I begged, and then that's when they got like authoritative. You have to. And next thing I know, I started to see my body. I saw my body again, and I'm watching it like float up. It's, because it had sunk, and I was watching it float up, and my aunt was grabbing onto the post, trying to reach my body and kind of drag me in, hoping we don't both drown. I could still hear her thoughts like, oh my gosh, if I can't hold my grip, because I'm trying to pull her. And by that time, my uncle, I think, had come down. I'm a little foggy here because I was in and out fighting not to go back in my body. But next thing I knew, I was up on the shore, up the cliff and on the edge of the shore, laying on the grass. I could see my body on its side. There was no water, ill effects. And I was just laying there, and same thing, like I was in and out. They said I didn't probably speak, I think, till the next day. I just kind of nod or mumble. Like I didn't feel in my body for, it took a very long time. And it was so hard coming back here because, we're so different as humans than as our, what people call our true form. And so like, there wasn't the love that I knew, and it was just very traumatic to me. And I came back, everybody says this, but with all my clairs wide open, I could see things, I could tell things, I could read energy, I could hear, see, all those things. For a 7-year-old, it was very scary, especially like I could tell when people were preparing to leave their body and go home. So like, and it always happened within 2 weeks, and I would feel so sick, and I knew it and I sensed it, but I didn't know what I sensed. It was very hard and traumatic for that reason. And because like, I understood everybody's perception, like, where they were coming from. So like, I couldn't get angry with people, and it took me a long time, and I still have a struggle with it, like standing up for yourself, so to speak, because you knew how these people and what trauma brought them to that point, so it was very hard that way. And especially with my family, they had a lot of like verbal type abuse, they were always bickering and all those kind of things that families do. And that was just so foreign to me. Most of the time I just spent in nature or singing, or I love my swing. I guess it's still made you feel that freedom. I was always on my swing or singing. But yeah, that was too. My first experience.
I love the swinging. Uh-huh.
My daughters are that way too, but a couple of my family members have had NDEs too, which is weird, but interesting. But yes, we have. So it's good to actually now, that I have my own family, like to have people to talk with. My mother was the only person at that time that like I could tell her my visions, or when people were in trouble or things, and she'd kind of be my mediator, and it got where people trusted me, or she could say, well, Lori said this, and kind of thing, so that was the only thing that kind of got me through my childhood, because my dad was very gifted too, and so are my brothers and sisters, as far as like being able to see spirit and interact with things. And so they had that understanding. They were very private about it. A lot of them dispelled. They didn't want that, but I'm saying at least they understood me. So I was at least blessed in that sense, where some people don't have that support. But that was my first experience. My second one, I don't have actually memory of, but this is interesting, and I was told later in my other experiences, it was indeed a death experience to go home for healing. What happened there is like a couple of weeks before this event, my grandmother came to me in a vision, and I was almost 3 months pregnant, and she came to me and she's like, and she wasn't a very emotional person in connective wise in real life on this side of the veil. And so she came to me and she's like, honey, I'm sorry, this baby is not yours to keep. I promise you'll have more children. You're going to go on and have more children, but don't have fear. this is going to happen to you. And she showed me sitting in a clinic, and she was talking to me, but I didn't see her. And I was sitting there, and she's showing me that. And then she showed me a calendar of the date. She's like, this is the day. Don't have any fear. And it was February 28th. And yes, on February 28th, I had gone into the ER because I started bleeding in severe pain. The heartbeat had stopped. So they decided I needed an emergency DNC. But because, it wasn't prepared or anything, they didn't know my sensitivities, and I'm very sensitive to meds and all this other things. I can't take most things. Anyway, so they gave me too much anesthesia. And they didn't know I was anemic. I didn't really then either. And so I was bleeding out, and I stopped breathing. I had to be intubated. And so they thought they almost lost me. They said that we thought we lost you. So I'm not sure exactly what happened. I never checked my records. But I had the same thing in knowing afterwards, and the same sense of disconnect. It took me a while, also not the trauma. Everybody else was traumatized, and especially my husband, because they were fighting with another baby to be born that night. So they thought they were going to lose that mother too. And then right when we're trying to get out, the baby screams. So he knew it made it. And that was just a very traumatic event for them. But I had understanding, because I knew, this was coming. And I kept trying to say, this is coming, it's kind of, but even the doctor told me, he's like, he goes, literally your body did do this to work itself out. He's like, he's like, so you could have more children, but if you want them, you need to try again right away. And I knew this too. So we tried, and we had one right away that same year had our son. But he's like, the organs systems didn't interconnect for some reason, is why we lost our baby. And it was, like I said, very interesting that, he collaborated, that it was my body's way of working itself out. And that's what she was trying to tell me. And so we were very blessed that way, because we tried for years, but it has to do with ancestral trauma. And, my grandma was from the Great Depression. And then my mother had 5 kids and was really struggling. So literally they didn't want more children. And energetically, we don't realize that we carry these things on. Because my sister also had problems, but both times she was born. When my mom was pregnant with my sister, it was Catholic, they had to get married and stuff. So there was that. And then with me, she'd already had 5 kids. I don't want no more, so I think that's why my sister and I both had those struggles, because of the times we were born. We don't realize how much energy like that, carries on to other generations. My third death experience was when I lost blood flow to my brain. I was talking to my husband, and all of a sudden, he says, I started to walk backwards strangely. I remember talking to him, this last I remember, and I started like kind of walking back. He said like 8-10 feet till I hit the doorway, and all of a sudden he says I fell, and I started a seizure. And I hit my head against the door jamb, he said, and I was kind of like this and not breathing, and they were freaking out. And simultaneously, when they came to check on me, I went to what I call, I don't know, Heaven City. It's just another conceptual thing of heaven. And I was in this big, and it was misty again, but I could tell beyond it. I mean, that's all I'm like basically supposed to remember, but I know the mist wasn't there. I think it's just to, block whatever else, because I could sense other things. But it was my mom, and she was sitting next to me on this big like marble bench, and she was, tapping my leg. This is the first time I could see a body in any of mine, and she was rubbing it, and she's like, "It's okay, you've done enough now, you can stay." And but I was feeling it wasn't her energy, and I guess I communicated that. She's like, "Well, it was for your benefit. Your mom can't be here right now. Your loved ones do meet you, but for this experience, I needed this person who I'm not sure energetically who I just knew was a higher like light being. Like I knew you could sense." And anyway, so she's like, "You did enough now. We're supposed to leave a positive balance." And so I was able to stay if I wanted to. And I said, "I'm like, no, I can't. My daughter needs me." And she's like, "I'll give you some time to think. You should think about this." I'm like, "No, I need to get back now." And it's of note, part of the reason I remembered a past life with my daughter. I had died on her at that same age as her father. I call them alternate or other lives because there's no time, linear time and spirit. So in that life, I had been shot by 2 burglars on my way home. It was like a Victorian life. And I was shown this, and I was a cobbler or whatever. I made shoes, and I was on my way home. My shop was on one side of this little cobblestone bridge that went across, like, a small river creek. And I was halfway over when these robbers came towards me from the other end out of the shadows, and they wanted my coins. So I went to hand over the coin purse, but the one robber on the left of me wanted my coin, my valuables too. And the one in front of me was like, come on, let's go. And well, he pulled them, and it was one of those little musket type, handguns. I can't really describe it. It was like one of those metal ones, probably musket ball type. And so easily triggered, right? So when he grabbed him, it went off and hit me in my lower right side under my ribs, which I'll get to in a second. But then, so then he freaked out, and he's like, I'm so sorry. And the other guy dragged him away, and they went running off with, what valuables they had gotten. And my house was like 2 on the right after the bridge. So I went over there back to my home, and I stumbled in, and I know my wife caught me, and my daughter, who is my daughter now, was at my feet, and I died in her arms saying, I'm so sorry. I love you. Sorry. So I knew I was carrying that trauma with me because it was probably my closest timeline. And the reason I bring this up is because I had severe pain in my right side all of my childhood. I went to specialist after specialist, test after test. They could never find a reason, until I was allowed to remember this. I struggled with that pain. Like it had almost collapsed me when I was younger. It was that strongly attached to me, so that's kind of significant in that regard. So that's why I said I have to get to my daughter. Anyway, so all of a sudden they told me, I just like literally jerked up, and like I felt my body do that. I like jerked up and I was on my feet. I'm like, where's my daughter? What happened? And then I burst out bawling. I'm like, I saw my mom, oh my God, and I was like, what happened to me? I wasn't here. I was like, because, this is like the first one I remembered since my 7-year-old experience at the time. My last experience is very complicated, but I think I got the most from it, so to speak. It was this past January, almost a year ago. Oh, wow. Okay. It took me a while to integrate it, and that's why I, hadn't been speaking about it.
I just want to say, we tell these stories just like sometimes like we're just reading a grocery list, because we just stick with the facts. We don't stop and feel. We don't stop and analyze, and we don't stop and we just report it. But and I can hear your pain. You lost a child. You were attacked. You were, you drowned. All these things happen, and I know you have feelings about them.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I teared up. Yes, I do.
No. I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's what we should all be doing, because we talk about death as if it is funny, and no disrespect against you. It's just, I was thinking this earlier today. I was thinking, we come on here and we talk about death like it's funny, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's great, and we don't really let people in, and it's like, this was horrible.
Right. Like I said, it was so traumatic for me as far as that one, and losing my baby. I mean, I knew we had tried for years, but it wasn't to be, and that's why the intervention, the spiritual intervention, and my children are very their gifts surpass mine, I think, or will. And so, I know they're all the divine reasoning, so to speak, but it doesn't make it easier. I mean, we talk like it's easier, but it's taken us a lot of time to process and accept these events, even like knowing my loved ones were going to die. I could see that. I knew they were preparing to leave, or I knew things were going to happen to them, but you can't stop. You can't affect free will. I mean, as a child, can you imagine, you have this knowledge?
Yeah. I can, because I drowned at 5 years old, so I can't imagine.
Okay. So, I'm like, people don't, people are like, oh, I want to have an NDE. No. And, this is one of my biggest messages. You don't have to learn to live by dying. Okay. Everything we have and need is here. We're just unaware, and we can choose to be aware.
Dying is sad. It's painful. It's scary.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, because at first you don't know what's happening to you. By my last one, it was way different, and we'll get to that one. But,
And I just want to say, and losing a child, it's more than that. It's more, because it's not you, it's them. Now you mourn the loss. Like, it's like a double NDE, because you died and your child died.
Yes,
and how in the heck does anybody come to terms with that?
Exactly. And, like I said, and then my husband actually had a breakdown over it. Honestly, he had some guilt from some other things. So, he took it more like a punishment and all these other things. So, like, I was dealing with that, and then the loss of, and then my mom got diagnosed with cancer. So, like, it was all these things at once, and so it was a really traumatic time as far as that particular phase of my life. And, excuse me. And so, and yeah, like you said, people disassociate, I guess, or even with us, they're like, "Oh, just hear your story. What's, and it's like,
I know, and I even said
I wish
that
I could
to
have one.
Before we start, it's like, people love these stories, and it's just, and honestly, that is true. It is sad, but true. It is. They want the story. They want the entertainment. But when that part's
not all,
over,
but some,
let's get real. On this podcast, at least, anyway, let's get real, because there's a lot more to these stories, as you know.
Right. And I always say, people are like, how do I get to your, to your level of understanding? And you can, but I mean, I had to do so much work in integration to understand these things, and my own soul searching. Everything is within you to find all of these things without dying, but we get so caught up in this narrative, in this story, that we forget our divine being. And so some of us need these really hard wake-up calls, like, you're supposed to be doing this. Get to work. and because we take on so much of this, I've come to understand, all these energy attachments, so to speak, and what do I call that? Expectations from other people. All these things built up in our energy. We had to have an NDE because we were an open empath, and we didn't realize, we were taking on everybody's baggage for you. That's why you feel good around some people, because they're literally stuck in, helping you sponge it, and until you're aware of your energy, you don't realize this. And a lot of it to go home is to cleanse us and put us back on track, because they're like, you're doing too much. You're taking on everybody's, so, there's a lot to it.
And what I think? I think we, as children that were abused, our needs weren't met. So we met everybody else's needs.
Yes,
and we don't know how to have our needs met, even when we get to be old ladies, because we've always taken care of everybody else.
I know, because somebody mentioned,
we have a problem. Who do we go to? We reach out here, reach out there, and we get crap in return. And it's like follows with us our whole life. Like, you will still be the caregiver. You will not be cared for.
Yeah.
This is your role, and that is not your role.
And that's what I say about expectations. Like, that's why I don't like labels. Like, even mom. Think about when you say mom, all the things that you expect from a mother. That is not fair. That is trespassing on someone's free will and sovereignty. Okay. We all have life things.
And you're setting them up to fail.
Right. Seriously, because you're always going to be disappointed if you have expectations.
And I think this is so off topic. I don't care. But what I think the hardest thing is when you get divorced and you're a mother. Your children cannot handle you with another man. I don't care if you marry that man and you're together 50 years. Mom's with another man. I mean, it's dad, what all the girlfriends in the world, but mom, she better stay sane.
Weird. Yeah, I'm saying there's so many expectations that come with labels, and like, mom's the person you go to for emotional support, not dad. What?
Yeah.
All these things, and you're missing out on so many relationships because you have these expectations of what somebody's supposed to be to you. Stop it. That's my biggest man. Stop it.
Moms are people too.
Why? Seriously, it took me a long time, and even losing my mom and having my own children, to realize, like, this is why my mom was this way. This is why my mom wanted her own space and her own life and her own job. And we were all like, now mom's not here for us. Who's going to cook? All these things, I get why she got to a point in her life where it's for me now, because I'm there too now, but, I have constant contact with my mom since she passed. She passed in 2004. And one of the messages she told my daughter and myself was that, I can help you more on this side than the other. And I'm doing more for you, and you are stronger because I'm here for you. She's like, I had to leave, or you wouldn't find yourself, because my mom was my filter and the matriarch of the family. Everybody went to her. We never dealt with our own things. Mom took care of it, and I get this. So don't have those expectations on people. I'm just saying. So, that was part of her message to me is, and two, she said, she chose cancer. So we were so attached. So it would be less traumatic. We'd have more time to say goodbye to her and process that she was leaving, all these things are soul choices and they're loving choices. They're always loving, whether we see them in that moment as that or not. A mother's love, we know how extreme that is. So, we will choose those things. And so will all souls, because we're love incarnate. We're going to choose the most loving choice, whatever expands your soul the most, even if it seems traumatic to us here. So, but I'll get to my fourth death experience because we keep. I was sleeping, and it was an autonomic nervous system issue where my hormones are too high. Sometimes I have trouble swallowing, breathing, different things. Well, I had stopped breathing in my sleep. And this whole experience was about how words and thoughts manifest, because I had jokingly in the NDE group, I think where I met you at with Ned Medina, that there was somebody had posted
I don't think we met there.
We don't.
But that's okay. Not that group. Maybe another one, because I don't go to his.
Could be. Oh, could be. Okay. I'm sorry. I apologize. But
I don't like him.
I know. He's awesome. But,
I don't like
him. Oh, you don't?
Oh.
No. It's so funny. But yeah, and so I take everybody with love. That's all you can do to get through.
Good.
But they had posted, someone had posted just to make lighthearted about the way we died. It was a meme like lame ways we died or could die or something. And I said I didn't want to go like grandpa. I want to go like grandpa, not those screaming in his car. And there was more to it, but I won't say, so I literally had said that's how, So I basically got called to the principal's office. And they're like, your level of light, you cannot be saying these things. They manifest super fast. You can't do that, kind of thing. They were like, yeah. And I'm like, what do you want? Human me is a ditz. I don't remember these things in flesh, and we're going back and forth. They're like, if you want your body, you need to get back in it now. And by day, I forgot, I skipped over that it was my soul family. I knew there was more there, but I could see the ones that are incarnated here with me now. And the cool thing about that is those two that I could see, besides my husband and my daughter, I've had many lives with my husband and daughter, that one had a vision that I died in my sleep. She knew it. And then that, and my guy friend, he said to me that he contacted me the next day. He's like, what happened to you last night? He's like, I saw you and you were trying to like give me something of your body. And that was part of the test because I had done this, that.
I'm sorry. I thought you said husband. I thought earlier you said you had a wife.
Oh, no, husband.
Okay.
Did I say wife? Oh, that was my past life that I died in my wife's arms.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I
clarified that.
Yeah. So, so it was interesting that they both confirmed that, that experience really did happen. I knew it happened, but you know what I mean? It was just like, oh, wow. And I'm like, wow, so I really did die. It took me a while to process this because, and, all the information, I was given about words manifesting, especially if there's emotion behind them. And like anything following I am should always be positive. Everything we write should be in a positive light. If you think about it, the English language has the most negative connotations than any other language. Instead of saying sick, say I'm healing from, and it's all in terminology, but it makes an impact.
I don't know. I believe in honesty. If I am mad, I am mad. I am not positive.
Oh, I will say that, you know, I'm just saying as far as how we view ourselves and speak of ourselves.
Oh, when saying what we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as far
not
as
a feeling.
Like, claiming that for ourselves. You should always speak your truth.
Like I am
in a
fat.
loving manner as you can, you know, because
I should say it with a smile on my face. I am fat.
You know, and we fold that energy in. We fold that energy in, literally. You know, that's why we expand, unfortunately. We're like taking on the world. Like, you know, people say, oh, she has a motherly energy, you know, and I'm like, yeah, because I'm a nurturer. I want people to heal and understand. I was a medical assistant for a long time until I realized I was attaching to everybody's illness. You know, as an empath, you can pick up how people are feeling or what their things are. I was so in tune that I was literally picking up everything. I mean, I got diagnosed with so many autoimmune diseases, I don't even know which end is up. And part of that too was because I wasn't aligning with my body. Remember, I told you how hard I fought not to be here. You know, I wasn't being symbiotic. I'm like, get me the heck out of this thing. I want freedom. I want to travel to space. You know, I don't want to be here for a lot of years. So that accumulated, you know, that disconnect. And so anyway, but yeah, I got so sick, my immune system completely shut down. And this is all during and right before I lost my baby. So I was on medical leave when that happened because of this. I mean, everything was just crashing. So yeah, I realized
I had all the symptoms of MS once. I didn't. The doctor says you don't have MS. You have all the symptoms of MS, and it was stress.
Yep.
It was what it was doing to my body, not to my mental health, but it reacted to my body. And I was like, thank God I have a strong mental health.
Do you find you're very physically reactive? I am very much so, more so than mentally. It's like physically, and I have to be very, you know, mindful of my energy. It has taken me years to get to that point, and I still have issues because, you know, we have such huge empathy, you know, so you attach.
And I'm so sensitive to foods. Like I can't go near caffeine. I'm really going to watch the sugar. I have to watch everything that's around me, in me, all of it.
Medication. Like people are like, I'm like, well, you don't get my bedroom is really big, but that's because it's my sanctuary. Everything I do is in here because I have to I have to kind of isolate that. You know, I am the most loving social introvert you'll ever meet.
A few months ago, I went to the dentist and they shot me with the numbing stuff. It didn't give me no laughing gas. I started floating up out of my body. I mean, I wasn't literally like out of body, but I felt like I was high, and I was just like, wow, man, what'd you give me? It's some good stuff. They sent me in the emergency room in the squad. They thought I was having a heart attack. I was like, the older I get, the worse it is.
Yeah. You know, and that's another thing. I was almost bedridden, so anemic, my organs were shutting down about 6 years ago. And running to doctor, you know, and all of a sudden I'm like, I don't know. And I don't know if it's from my experience.
I'm sorry. I'm getting slap happy. I'm like, I'm just waiting for you to start laughing now. You know, like 2 years ago, my organs were shutting down.
Laugh a lot, and honestly I do, and it's not a nervous thing, it's the joy, because I know I'm laughing at how much I attach to these things. To be honest, that's what makes me laugh. It's not because I find it funny.
I have a weird sense of humor.
So I do too, because people are like, what? I'm like, I laugh at lots of things that some people are like, but I get now, you know, I'm so joyful, like, what did I ever attach to that crap? I didn't need to, you know. So that's why I laugh when I talk about these, like, oh, you know, I was all traumatized and this was happening to me, and I fed into the line of being sick. The minute I said I'm healing and said I'm done with this, and I got off my meds and I did all this stuff, you know, now look at me. I mean, where before I couldn't get out of bed, you know, and I couldn't do half these things, you know, I just said, that's enough. I'm done with this storyline. You know, you have that choice. But it's all mental and healing.
But you know what? I bet they do that in heaven. I bet they say, I was hit by a car and I flipped over.
They do. We do. That's why I was laughing. I was literally laughing on my way back to my body. I didn't finish that part. I was like, how do I start this thing? I said, how do I do that? You know, they're like, you have to force yourself to swallow. You know, so I saw my body. This is what's weird. We all think that, like, we have to be in our body to control it. We don't. I saw my body reach and get a drink. And the minute that happened, I was like punched in the chest. I mean, it was like, you know, and I took this gasp in, and then I was like almost doing like a systems check. And oh my God, your nerves coming online. Can you imagine like your hand being asleep times 1,000? That's what it felt like. Every nerve, I could feel it. It was the most painful thing. It only lasted a second, but holy crap, restarting your body, you are capable of healing and doing that. But it was the most terrifying yet powerful experience as far as like,
And
I knew what I was capable
curiosity,
of.
like what is going on?
Right. And I'm looking at, and, and I knew I was just shaking. And then it was almost like, I was in shock. I was just like literally shaking and ice cold, after restarting my body. It took me like a half hour or more just to like, what happened? Am I here? Because it was like, am I in the right reality? Because you do, and sometimes you pick different points, but I literally, like after this one experience, I have a zillion, it feels like a zillion, but it's constantly changing. But like, I know I took the Mandela effects test and I had like 76%. Like things I remember, things I've seen are not here anymore at all. And sometimes
Oh
people are like, that wasn't a kid in our class. Oh, okay. He was in mine. I don't know where he went. Okay. People don't get, can you imagine how freaked out that is and how mind process and how much you have to have mind control not to lose yourself? We go through a lot to bring these messages back is all I'm trying to say. So, it's not all beautiful love and glory. Like, I don't want to make it seem scary because,
well, thank you, because I really needed this laugh today about this subject. I really did. I was starting to take it so seriously, and you just like reminded me that we can laugh through everything. Even the trauma, even the death and dying. We always have a choice.
We were saying, sorry, my ear keeps itching. What's really funny is you're right. Like I said, in spirit, I even have a friend who was like, yeah, I was trying to decide what injuries I'd allow when I came back. Like, oh, I still have to have a broken leg or people won't believe this stuff. In spirit, we look at it like, oh, it's a thing. And then we come here and we're like, what were we thinking? Why did we come back? What?
Scream. My mom and dad's going to be so mad at me.
And in the void of creation, you can be and do anything and go anywhere. That's all that really exists. So why, we sit there and go, why would we leave that where we can be everything and everything? But it's for the experience. It's a vacation. You can only love and light. We want experience. We're very conscious, intelligent beings. We want experience, but we forget once we're here not to attach to the story we're watching.
A coworker of mine committed suicide a couple years ago, and we found out the next morning after it happened. We just talked to him right at quitting time the day before. Young guy, he's so adorable and so sweet. And so I told my husband, as we worked together on the pipeline, and I says, take me back to where I saw him the morning before when he was happy, because he wasn't real happy like at quitting time that night, but he was in the morning. He was telling me all this stuff. I'd helped him with a court case and he was so happy it all gotten taken care of. And so I said, I want to go back to where he was so happy. I don't remember him there. And it was like one of the feeling led things. It's just what I need to do for whatever reason. And so I was standing there alone in this little field while the guys was over talking, getting the information, particulars, what happened. And I just was like, remembered him so happy. And all of a sudden I saw him and he was hovering and he was smiling and he went, I messed up.
We're like, oh crap.
We're all so sad. This young man, oh my God, his mom is going to be devastated. And oh my gosh, he hit so much ahead of him. And we're thinking all this and poor him. And then I see him and I messed up.
Right. Because my mom shows me she's dancing. She's like, if you want to connect to me, you need to dance. We can dance together. And after that, I danced with her and I felt her. And it was funny because I was on one side of the room, just swinging. I wasn't moving my feet. I was just swinging and talking to her, and it was really funny because all of a sudden it's like I snapped to, and I was on the other side of the room facing the other thing. I almost had run into the other wall. And I know I didn't move my feet, but I told her, I said, Mom, you can dance with me anytime you want to, but don't throw me around the room like you used to. And literally I was on the opposite side of the room like she used to. And I'm like, okay, that's even trippy for me. But, we don't realize, with our grief and everything else, we're holding back that communication, because we're not matching the vibration of love that they're trying to give us. They're literally all around us. They, and when you think of them, they're right there. And so I always
That
try
makes
to
me,
like relate to.
I'm sorry, that makes me think of something. You said that when I died at 25 and I was taking the future and I seen my middle son, Jeremy, crying, I don't care that you say mom is dead. I want her back and I want her back right now. And I felt his pain and I retracted. And
Yep.
it made me think, you know what? If we are in so much pain, they're probably not able to come feel that. Because like how you felt everyone's thoughts and emotions during, is it your
Yep.
drowning? And
Yeah.
I did as well. I felt those things. And um I didn't hear their communication. I felt the emotion. But it just makes me think, I bet they don't want nowhere near that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I knew how much it would traumatize my daughter's soul to lose me again at that thing. But that was part of our karmic thing. I made the loving choice, so I was able to return. You know what I'm saying? Like, I chose love this time. You know, like I didn't leave her. You know, these are all learning processes in our soul ascension. You know, like to be loved, to choose love. I always say Earth is a safe space because it's very dense here, so we can't manifest at the rate we do there. So it's kind of a gift because we're unaware and we don't realize how much we manifest our life. Everything is your thoughts, you know, and the source is thoughts playing out. You know, things, I'm even seeing things that like I know I said or you know, or whatever 10 years ago, but my husband's like, you got to watch what you say because literally this is a funny way of how it works.
Dana.
Because okay, I have a thing with cats. Even my vet said, what the heck is with you?
To do what?
Cats. Because my vet's like, what is it with you? He's like, you have all these animals, even on your property, because we have a bear nearby, we have a mountain lion, we have a bobcat, we had an albino raccoon. But I have a thing where cats just show up, usually about the same time of year every year. And they literally, and this is the weirdest thing, stand on their back paws and knock on my door. I am kid you not. And each one of them
We had a cat that knocked on the door.
Yeah. And but each one of them was something I had said or wished for. I was like, oh, I wish I had a big fluffy orange cat like Garfield. Within a few days, literally one like that knocked on my door.
Be careful what you wish for. I'm telling you, because people's listening.
Same with my, excuse me, my other cat too. I was like, oh, I want one just like my old cat, you know, but one I can have inside and cuddle. Same thing. Showed up, a turtle shell no less, you know, and knocked on my door. It was just, I have had 4 cats do that. Crazy cat lady.
Because great big tall cats are cool, but I wouldn't want to clean out the litter pan.
That's the least. That's like, oh, yes. They give me so much love and they have a higher vibration. So, you know, they're always watching out over me, but yeah, sorry, I'm looking because they're all around me going, what's mommy talking about? You talking about me? They're all looking up at me. So yeah, you know, but each one of them is something I inadvertently wished for, you know, so then my husband couldn't deny it because it would be like within days. He's like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. Because he's had his own near-death experiences and out of bodies and things. And so he gets it, but he's one of these analytical types, you know, he's studied many religions, but he's very scientific minded. So there you go. That's unusual. They don't normally want to get that close.
Does he want to come on sometime and tell about his experiences?
No, he's one of these, like I said, he's like, oh, I don't know if it was really an experience. And he doesn't really like remember things as far as, he has Parkinson's. So my husband he has Parkinson's disease.
Oh, okay. My mom has that.
Yeah. So he doesn't really, he's not that social, I guess you'd say. So,
okay. I get it.
But yeah. So, but he was like, anyway, he's like one of these scientific, you know, like, you know, it's a wall because I can touch it, where I'm like, no, I've seen the energy grid. It's just energy agreements. It's, you know, but he's starting to realize he's having more and more of his own experiences because he's, I think what I call awakening. So he's having a lot, and he's had a lot of psychic visions now too. And that's a big thing because like when I first met him, I was still unaware, you know, and so he was hearing different voices and seeing visions. And of course, you know, they want to tell him, you know, the medical community tells you it's this, that. And I wish I knew now what I, you know, I wish I knew then what I know now, you know. So a lot of times those energies are gifted people not in alignment, or they're not converging with those energies coming in to understand it's a gift and what's really going on, you know. So he's really coming into his own. So I'm really happy about that. And he's doing a lot of healing and working through stuff. So that's really good. So, I mean, and his experiences kind of validated my own and things and learning that I got in mine, you know, and understanding. So,
did we get through all four of them, or did you finish your fourth?
My fourth one, yes, I did. It was the one where I died in my sleep.
Okay.
But what I brought back from that, like I said, was the manifestation and how that works here energetically. Like I always tell people, the void of creation, everything is waiting to come to you. All that energy potential is in there. You know, like they say, oh, well, psychics are wrong sometimes. Well, that's because we choose a different path. You know, we have free will. So those energy potentials
are
were
you
there
a psychic?
for those things to happen. I have prophetic dreams. I do have visions. I pick up on different things in different places. My clairs and my abilities seem to go stronger for what I need in that time period, or what phase of energy I'm kind of bringing in. So, you know, and I have some where I can smell spirits. Like when my mom comes, most of my family can smell her now. We all know her scent. You know, it's like she used to wear Old Navy perfume and smoke Carlton cigarettes, and it's a distinct smell. You know when mom's here. You know, it's just like, oh yeah. I'm like, oh yeah. And then when I talk about her, half the time she like shows up. So, and there's a few others, and you know, I have some where I can hear clairaudience. You know, I'll hear things or messages, like I'll wake with them, like, and they're very, it's usually when I'm in almost a trance, half awake, half asleep, saying I'll hear different messages. Like I got one that said Romans 6:13. If you look that up, it's interesting, but I kept getting that one. The other one was vitamin C and zinc. I was already taking it, so I knew the message wasn't for me. But when my family all got sick, I was like, take this. And yeah, it was over within 3 days. You know, I'm like, do this. Because I knew it wasn't for me, you know, things like that. So I do get some of that as far as audience, you know, like telepathic hearing.
So that's a lot in your family. A lot of people in your family say had spiritual experiences, besides your husband, but
yeah, my daughter has had, she almost drowned, just like me, at about the same age. See energetically how these things, yeah. So, and once when she was young, I asked my brother and my aunt to watch her, and she had tripped and almost fell in a bonfire. And my brother was like, it was the strangest thing, Lori. It's like I was literally propelled forward over the fire to catch her as she was landing. He's like, I couldn't move that fast. I didn't even know she was falling.
Those slow motion moments.
Yes. And she only had tiny little burns here, but she went out of body, and she saw, you know, so she is very, very gifted.
I fell in the bathroom one time, and I was going through a phase. I was falling all the time. My kids was like,
yep.
What is
Me too.
with you?
About a year
well, before that, I didn't know I had arthritis in my feet. So my feet aren't doing the swiveling, gripping stuff they're supposed to do. But I had stepped out of the shower, and I guess it was, the floor was wet, and my feet come up over my head, and I was like, slow motion, and something's telling me, duck your head in so you don't hit the toilet. And I did. I ducked it in, and I just like barely missed the toilet. If I would have just let it fall back, I would have cracked my head, you know? It's
because it's funny you say that, because I did that with a shower moment too. But I fell forward, but I really jammed my thing. But if I would have fallen backward, same thing. So I hear you, you know, and, you know, people always say, you know, my daughter's like, stop saying that. But, you know, the chicken and egg moments, what came first? Because in spirit time, it doesn't. And in the void of creation, it doesn't. I always say neither, you know, and that gets some people upset. But seriously, like my dad, not long after my first death experience, my dad was in the front seat, my brother was sitting next to him, and I was in the back seat. And all of a sudden I had this overwhelming thing. I saw in my mind that we were going to hit this post off our driveway. We had a 1/4-mile gravel driveway, and it would get icy because it was gravel. And we literally went off, flew into that pole. And my dad, I think, messed up his face, and my brother. But it was weird because I was ducking down and hiding underneath the seat and bracing myself long before it happened. But my dad says the reason he hit it is he was looking back why the heck I was doing that.
Huh.
And I've had some other really trippy paranormal things, especially with my daughter. Like I said, she's part of my soul group, where we've mutually experienced things, and she mutually experiences things with her sister too. So, you know, there's more than one person saying, this happened, Mom, you know, or this happened to us, you know? So it's very interesting. Timelines are like a Rolodex. We can pick the ultimate timeline. We do it all the time, but we're not aware. Once we become aware, sometimes it'll be slow-mo and you can see, I could choose this, this, or this. Mm-hmm. That has happened to me.
And there isn't a timeline on the other side.
Right. Right. That's why I said everything's linear. So we can choose. We can go here, say, oh, okay, I'm going back to this point. That's why a lot of people I can tell have the energy, and I know they've had near-death experiences, but they insist to me they don't. But suddenly they have gifts. I'm like, yeah, you did. You just chose to go back before that point. You know what I mean? You know, and a lot of us don't realize that we chose not to remember these things, but they've happened to us. Like I have a cousin who was in a car crash, and now he has these gifts. He's like, no, I was just in a coma for 3 days. I didn't have no experience. And I'm like, the heck you didn't. I know what you did, but okay. You know,
I was hit by a car when I was little, knocked out, and I don't remember a thing. I remember before what I was doing. I was playing in sand, making a castle, and my brother was playing baseball, and I was right outside the fence, you know, from the ball. And my other brother tried taking my sand, and I tried to build another sand castle, and he says, here comes a car. I said, you just want to take my sand. He's like, no, really, here comes a car. I keep making boom.
Didn't trust the love there.
And next thing I know, I'm on a stretcher, and the squad's pushing me through the doors of a hospital, and my grandma's there, and she's yelling at him to hurry up and boss him around, and that's all I remember. But I don't remember any.
Right. And sometimes we don't, but I'm just saying when you suddenly are all aware and you have gifts and mediumship like he does, I'm like, yeah, I think you went home for a little bit. But you can sense it. Do you notice you can sense people who are authentic? I mean, I can anyway. I don't know if it's my gift. I can tell when people are authentic, like the story is theirs or it's something they've truly lived compared to things they're telling me. So I call it the gift of discernment. But so I can tell, like, I sense it in people. You're drawn to people. That's why people are drawn, you know, to those of us that have had it too. We have that higher level of light and awareness. You know, people are like drawn to it like a moth to a flame sometimes.
They're either drawn to it or they hate it. They're drawn to hate it.
Right. Well, they're denying their own light. Everything is a reflection, you know, of ourselves and where we're at. So if they're that way towards you, if somebody's that way towards you, they see things in you that they haven't healed themselves. So they're hating on you for things that they can't grasp that are within themselves, you know, or you remind them of things that they feel they're not, you know, that's where it all comes from. And I see that a lot, you know, and plus if people are really have boxed themselves into a belief system or a ideology of what they think they're supposed to be and what life is. Like, I'm just here to experience. And yes, we are here to experience. But
I get told a lot throughout my life, you think you're better than everybody else. I'm like, how do you know what I think? Why do you care what I think?
Exactly.
What did I say to, you know, offend you? Nothing. You just think it. I know you think it. And like, oh, you want to be mean to me, so I no longer think that I'm better than you, and that would make you feel better about yourself.
Isn't it messed up, the thought processes we have? Yeah. I always tell everybody, and this is very true, if it's not a loving thought, just spell it out loud. It works. I've used this to help people so much with this. Just spell it out loud. You are not welcome here. You must go now. In an authoritative, calm way, just like I was told, get back to your body. You know, it's the same thing. You just, anything you don't want in your experience. And it's very important you say it out loud. You may feel silly, go to somewhere where nobody's going to hear you, but talk to your body, talk to your divinity. It's very important to do those things. We have the ability to choose. Mm-hmm. We're so indoctrinated to
people look at me
and we have to suffer and experience. Mm-hmm. No, we don't.
they think I have everything. They look at me and they think I have everything. And I'm like, well, if you think I have everything and, you know, you want what I have, let me tell you how hard I work for what I do have. And
exactly.
And if I don't have anything, I'm still going to be who I am because I can be happy anywhere.
And it's not about
it's in
stuff.
here. It's not out here in this crap.
Because, you know, the only thing you take with you is love. They will ask you, was that a loving choice? Trust me, you don't want to say no. You know, we come here to learn love and sovereignty. Like I was talking about that respect thing about that's where the trespassing passage comes from. It means you're having expectations and telling somebody else how to live their experience. That's an absolute no as a soul. We know this. So when we go against that, that's the things we see in the ripple of that effect in our life review. Also, all the joy and things we brought to everyone else. It's a ripple effect. It affects generations. You know, and I'm not saying be mindful of everything you do and say to the point you're paranoid, but please be mindful of a loving choice for yourself and everyone else. So once we learn self-unconditional love, your whole life will change. You will attract that to you. And it's okay to let go of the things that are not at that level yet. They'll come back around if they're meant for you. You just have to trust your path, you know? And so many people just, it gets frustrating for me and kind of why I pull away sometimes from interacting with people, because you just keep seeing them choose it or say things that I'm like, it's not that I'm better, I'm just more aware. And I try to bring people awareness for that fact that, you know, you have these choices. And, you know, the more you choose love, you want out of that cycle of what you call suffering or see chaos in the world. That's all a perception and a choice of how you see it, a lesson or a punishment, you know? And all of these things are for our soul growth. We just can't see it. When we get to the other side, we're like, oh, that's why that happened. Oh, duh. You know, why didn't I see that coming? You know, we just are like, because you have all the awareness. Like,
and if we're not going around telling people all of our problems, right, they're going to think we got it all together. And we
know not to trespass, you know?
Because I'm just one of them person. I don't go around as a rule.
Right.
You know, if there's something serious going on, that I'm just like, hey, people, I need help here.
You know, like I always say to my husband, if I'm telling you, then it's at that level. Because I rarely say anything. But if it's starting to worry me or like, and I'm trying to be mindful and I'm not able to dispel it, that I know it's something that is for me, I'm like, you know, this is going on and this is coming. Like my friends and I that are all like very sensitive to energy the last few days. I don't know when this will air, but right now it's, I think, January 12th, correct? I'm very bad with time.
It'll be on tonight.
Dates. Okay. So I'm very bad with times and dates since I came back, and I don't attach to time. I don't know if you have that issue, but I have really hard time with that. To me, yesterday could be 10 years ago. Okay. Yeah. So, but the energies right now are really intense. I know a full moon is coming, but there is a major positive shift coming. It may not be viewed as like positive. You know what I mean?
I have seen probably 20 times in the last 2 days, people posting on Facebook, they're so afraid of dying in death. Yeah. Like, what's going on? Why is people fearing this? And what's
it's going to break through soon, but I think that's what it is. And that's why, you know, people like us who have crossed over and shed our physical vehicle, it's so important to get that message that we are eternal. There is no death. This is more like what I call the larval stage of your soul evolution. We keep coming here to learn and experience and expand those experiences. By expanding those experiences, we create infinity. You know, every time period is different, and we can expand and make different choices. It's choose your own adventure book.
It's different too, that we're on the other side of death at the moment, you know, when you're staring at it, you know, before you drown and you're struggling to breathe. If you're shot and you're on your way to the hospital, you're hit by a car, you're in a car, you know, before the death, that is, you are going to have fear. I don't care how many NDEs you had, you know, how spiritual, how much you meditate, you're going to be scared.
Exactly. You know, everybody is facing their own mortality, but we're more fearful of suffering. But you know what? I was told, but
that's diet or sleep.
That is also, though, a choice, you know, of how we are, you know, as far as, you know, sometimes we choose to feel that and that experience in our death. We can ask not to. Like, when I remember I had this terrible dry socket from getting a molar done, and I was in like playing, and then I'm like, wait a minute, you know, we all have to work on being mindful. I was like, I don't need this. And I was able to take off the meds and stuff because I was like, the most it's pretty painful if I'll even take Tylenol, okay? Because I don't take nothing for pain. I don't, as a rule. But it was that bad. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I can dial this back. What am I thinking? You know, I forgot my own ability.
Yeah,
and then I was fine. But we get so scared of suffering that we forget what we are. You know, I can't stress that enough. But I guess you have to experience, I guess, and believe it for yourself. But it is possible. I'm just saying the possibility is there, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people realize how much power they have and control over their experience, their body.
Yeah.
You know, you can talk to your body.
And things are out of our control sometimes. Yeah. But we still have a choice in how we react to them, no matter.
That's what I'm talking about as far as control. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. How we perceive them. We have that control, you know? And we can decide what we let affect us and what we attach to and what we don't. Yeah. And we really need to stop attaching to like every story because we created it in some timeline somewhere. You know, like we say, oh God, that must be so terrible for that person. Not realizing we were putting all that emotion in it and creating it somewhere. You know?
Yeah, just like a divorce, we feel like it's the end of the world. And, you know, so many people, you know, harm their partner in that process and their children and things. And not realize the silver lining is what's coming ahead, that they're going to remarry or have more children, whatever they do. You know, maybe they go back to school or who knows, you know, but things that can feel like the end are always, and sometimes it is the end, like in our life, it's the end of our life. And it's hard to see past what's going to happen past that end. And that there's people out there laughing at us like, come on over this side. There's no pain. There's no bills.
Oh, I know.
There's no COVID.
One of my mom's messages was, and even through one of the mediums that interviewed me, and my daughter was like, walk without fear. Literally, you don't have to attach to this stuff. You are always safe. You are always protected. I always say, you know, we are safe and loved unconditionally because we are. But she's like, and she showed this huge umbrella to the medium. And I understood it. You know, she's like, there's this big thing, like no matter what storms happen outside of you, they cannot affect you unless you choose it. Yeah. You know,
and it's okay to be scared too. It's okay to be scared. Just, you know, find some way, somebody to help you through it. I was talking to somebody this morning and he just got a cancer diagnosis and he lives in another country. And he's not going to tell his mother because she's old and he don't want to worry her. And he's going to commit suicide. And I said, you don't think that will hurt her? You don't think she'll blame herself? Wonder if she was a bad mother? Wonder why you didn't come? All these things. And finally he said, I'm going to have to stop talking to you because I'm getting depressed. And I thought, yeah, he's getting depressed because I'm getting into his heart where he's got a wall up over his heart and where he's not going to feel those things. So, you know, you never know how we affect people. I'm praying that he does go ahead and talk to his mom. And that
my uncle did the same thing. He took his life because he found out, and they found out later, but that he had like all this cancer diagnosis and it had gone everywhere and he just didn't want to suffer through that. I had an uncle that did that. And, you know, we all go to the same place. And it's just those that make that choice have a lot of healing to do on the other side. But sometimes it's what we planned. And you have to accept, you know.
I don't believe in that pre-birth planning stuff. I've been hearing a lot about that. And people come to the podcast and I do say, I'm sorry, but I don't believe in reincarnation unless God allows it. I think maybe some of those memories people have is other spirits coming in, maybe during their sleep or some other time, and they got somebody else's memory. It's just my own feeling. And I also like the pre-birth plan as a really sore subject, nothing against you, because when I first heard about it, somebody introduced it and was promoting abortion. by saying babies agree with their guides before they come on the earth plane to be aborted and reincarnated later. And the brakes went on. I'm like, what? Back up here.
And my husband's death experience, he had a conversation with God. And one of the things was, he's like, the only thing I can tell you, people get upset. So I'm not going to get into this, but he's like, the only thing that is real about that is, as far as we do not take a life, that was part of
I see it as suicide. I see as murder. And that's what I told that guy today. I said, that's murder. Mm. It is murder. I don't care if it's yourself or your neighbor. That's murder. That's what I told him. Suicide's murder.
Well, we're supposed to respect all life. Life is a gift. That's a very touchy subject for a lot of people.
And then, also too, a lot of people that are talking about the pre-birth plan reincarnation, they're talking about angels all the time. And I'm like, what is more of an angel than a newborn child? There's no greater angel walking this earth than a newborn child.
They come in as a pure light channel. They literally come in as a pure light channel. And I always say, one of my manifesto, I say 10 points of, living life. And one of them was that, stop indoctrinating your children of who and what they are. They're more connected to source than you remember.
And, and I don't care who in the audience that I offend, and they can stop watching this channel and I don't care. But because I'm Peggy.
Well, you're embracing your authenticity. That's who you are.
When we have a society of mothers that rejoice in the street for their right to kill their children, we're damned. We're damned. God will damn us. Now, YouTube might even shut my video down. But I'm saying,
you might have to edit that part out because they get very touchy.
How do we know this COVID isn't us being damned for crap like that? How do we know?
Well,
we don't.
YouTube won't let you put anything on that discusses COVID either.
Oh, well, COVID. Alert.
They're going to ban my interview. But yeah.
No, it'll go on. It just won't get monetized. I just won't get a few dollars.
Oh, is that what I'm not sure. But, and I have, part of the sovereignty thing is not telling anybody else what to do with their story. So I know what's right for me and what my internal guidance is.
Well, murder isn't good for anybody.
Oh, I know. Trust me. I get this, but I'm saying they will learn from it. Some people.
Well, I might teach them before they go.
Yes.
If there's one person in a million that I keep from having an abortion or from committing suicide, I will speak my opinion, because once it's done and they learn over there, we're not going to hear about it.
Peggy, I noticed with some of these, and a lot of near-death experiences are people who try to take their life. So my thing is you'll be sent back if they believe you have the capability of finishing your.
But we can't tell people if you kill yourself. Don't worry about it. You'll be reincarnated.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying.
But people will hear that,
though.
They'll hear that. They'll hear that, though.
Oh.
They'll hear that. They take
what I'm saying is
extreme.
You'll get put back. You always have to finish your lessons. You're going to get put back. So why have to relive?
I don't know. That's a new age theory of the day, but it wasn't 5 years ago. And so all these people are out here saying this same thing, just like you are. And they're saying it like it's gospel, and everybody just start jumping in, piling, believing it. And I'm just like, oh, well, let's just back up a minute here.
But that was in the Old Testament. I think somebody pointed out.
No, a lot of things are in the Bible that people can use to prove their point.
Isn't it? Yeah, anything. There's truth in all things. There really is. There is truth.
There's lies in all things too.
Well, right. That's why I always say. That's why I call it divine sight. Once you have divine sight, you can. And discernment, you can pick up.
Yeah, but I can't come on here and say I have divine sight and discernment, and you will listen to me.
No.
I'm just saying my opinion.
I'm saying it's respecting other people's sovereignty.
I have had people come on and say they're psychics, and say, so everything is like this and everything's like that because I've been channeled and so. And I was told, you know what? Somebody told me. Let me tell you this. Somebody told me, and I'll tell you who it was. It was Chris Batts, an NDE. And he told me before that someone contacted him, and I know who that someone is. And they said to him, if you say that in your NDE, you were told that it's okay to be a homosexual. We will get you on the Dr. Oz show. And I said, well, first of all, that person has no link to the Dr. Oz show, because I was on there and I know the producer, and that person it don't work like that. And they would have nothing to do with that. Second of all, besides that person's lying to you, if you're going to lie about your NDE, heaven help you. And he's, oh, no, I'm not going to. But it's the fact that there are people out there trying to use NDEs for their political, anti-Christian, new age, liberal, whatever it is. They're trying to steal near-death experiences from God. And I will say that till the day I die. And I've got a lot of enemies for it too, let me tell you.
Yeah, one of my other things, it's so funny because one of my other things that you were just saying that I heard audibly was Jesus is the light and all power is within him. That was one of the messages I got too. But I'm just saying, like, and I don't know why, but everything.
I don't know what you mean. Like what?
I'm just saying that was one of the things, like as audiently that I heard, well,
I'm telling you what's something that happened though. And I'm telling you about the corruption that's going on in a near-death experience organization that everybody's afraid to talk about. And, somebody can tell me that, this was channeled and that was channeled until the cows come home. But, I'm just saying truthfully, the stuff I'm seeing that's going on and how I have spoke out. I've got a little video I did a couple years ago. I'm like yelling, it's awful, but it's like, I forget what it's called. It's like, and it's audio, and I forget what the little thing I put it on, but it's like, let me think. Something about in the NDE community, equality. It's called equality in the near death in the NDE community. That's what it is. Equality, because I'm trying to get equality. And that's why I do the podcast, because now thank God for Jeff Mara. He's putting, you said you was on there New Year's Eve, and he's putting everybody on, and I love that. And I am too. I just don't have one person a day or whatever. He was a major podcaster before he started doing this.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I heard him. Yeah. He had his kids were playing with toys, and he was getting like a lot of views. He became a good podcaster. And then he started doing this. And he said, if it was if Bigfoot or UFOs, what people understand, that's what I talk about. But it's NDEs they want to hear about, because he don't care. He's a professional podcaster. He's making a lot of money in this, and nothing against him. That's his thing, But my thing in starting was, the NDE community, they pick the same people every year to be in the conferences, the same people to speak at the groups. And I was invited to speak in those things too. But the thing is I got popular real fast. And I kept thinking about the people that never got picked and the people that never got a chance to tell their story. And so I created, when I was still with that organization, a podcast that it was called NDE Newbies. That's what I was going to call it. So I had all the famous NDEers scheduled, even Raymond Moody scheduled, and all this stuff before. And then I resigned because I was told I couldn't be pro-life and stay in leadership. But the thing is I still had that heart where I wanted to do something like this. And so I did it without them. And where I can have, I have Eben Alexander on one day and somebody that's never told their NDE before their life public the next. And let me tell you, you watch and look at down there who people want to hear. They want to hear those stories nobody heard before. They've heard the famous ones over and over. God bless them. They're wonderful. Keep at it, And I appreciate them coming on. But, it's the stories that, nobody, this one guy I had in Canada, Jeff, a while back, he had never told his story before. And, it was just like it blew up. And then this other guy, Brian, I had on recently, it blew up, and they're, just start get out there telling their story, and they're not the ones that's got the best-selling book, and they're not professional speakers, and they're just like you, somebody coming on, and this is what happened to me, and this is who I am, and this is what I represent, and they're all not going to be the same. They're not going to think the same. They're going to have different religions. They're going to have different backgrounds.
Well, yeah, because it's also perception, like from your experiences, how you view what happened to you is how I see it. So that's why everybody's it's individual for your own soul growth is how I look at it. I'm not sure exactly, how I always say everybody's truth is their own. I always say, this is my truth. Trust
What
your
do you
own.
have a problem with? That I don't believe suicide is murder? Or
Oh, no, I didn't say I had a problem with anything. No.
oh,
Everybody is, like I said, I respect everybody's belief system. It doesn't have to be mine. I don't have an issue with I don't attach to all that, if that makes sense.
I'm just
As
saying,
far as
like if I get talking to somebody, I'm not that says they may commit suicide, I'm not going to be like, you're
I know,
your pre-birth plan.
I've seen it in the NDE groups even. Well, if that's your choice and we can't talk you out of it, I'm going. And I get disrespecting
Do you know why?
sovereignty.
Because
I
they
know
don't
that's
care.
part of it, but I've talked to a lot of people off the shelf, so to speak. I don't understand, and if they're meant to, this is what I tell you. Like, I can't change somebody's free will if they're meant to, and but I'm gonna tell you it's not something you want to do.
Yeah. I guess my background is for 60 kids. I was therapeutic foster parent, for 16 years. And so, and then working, children's service investigator, working as a social worker, mental hospital, drug counselor, drug clinic, maximum security prison counselor for women, all these helping roles, always helping people. It just goes against my nature to walk by someone, even if it's on social media, and not like, can I help you? Let me help you, just stop everything I'm doing and jump right in. It just goes against my nature. I don't know how people do it. I honestly don't.
The thing that was hard for me to accept was that, if people made a different choice, then, like I could give them information, I can do this, but I realized, I was told you can't save anyone. You have to accept their choices.
Yeah, you can.
But I'm going to fight you on it if I can, because, is that a loving choice? I don't feel that's a loving choice, but, I can't, I can give them the knowledge of what I know from my own experiences. But other than that.
Oh, I get up in their business, honey.
I
go so far up in their business.
I have long and depth talks with people, like, a lot. And even my kids have, ever since they were little, like, Mom, you know that person? I'm like, no. Then why are they telling you your whole life? I said, they were meant to meet me, and I was meant to tell them what I know. It happens to me all the time. I can't go somewhere without someone telling me these whole long stories. And
I'll be going down the road, and I'm like, tell my husband to stop. There's somebody, broke down over there, or there's a dog running in the road, or
so many times. Yep.
But now my husband, I don't have time anymore because he already knows. He's like, and like here a while back, we pulled in a gas station, and the car next to us, it was cold out, and there was a big dog running around in the back seat, and the two people in the front seat had their seats reclined, were passed out. And we know, because it was Parkersburg, West Virginia, that's a big drug area, and we've seen on the news about people dying from drug overdoses in their vehicles, and we were worried about the dog. and so we called the cops, and they came. And the people, we saw them wake up like, what's going on? Like, what? And it was a few weeks later, we read in the paper that, and we don't know if it was them, it was a coincidence, but we saw in the paper where a couple was found dead in a car and their dog was in there. And we thought, I wonder if that was that same couple. It could be anybody, but it happens.
Because I don't think anything, honestly, is coincidence. I would say everything is synchronicity. Like, we don't see or find these people at random. We're being guided on that path, and to who and where we need to be. And sometimes a divine intervention for some, or for ourselves, we can
go through life with blinders, like just focus on what I got to do. And I do that. I said, but then something catches my eye. Like I couldn't not do everything. We had one adopted child. She came to us mentally ill and hearing voices, and as she got to be a teenager, which like a couple years later, all of her doctors said she needed long-term residential care. And we couldn't, I didn't have the heart to do that to her, even though she was destroying our family. She was telling lies on her family and all these things. I couldn't give up on her because I have a mentally ill sister. And I thought I would never wanted my parents to give up on her. I could have gave birth to a mentally ill child. This could have been my biological. Would I give up on her, And so I fought for her. You wouldn't believe the things, the meetings I held and the people I called. My dining room table was covered with papers for months because I just sat there with the other kids at school all day calling. And I had set up a plan for her, a treatment plan to keep her home. She had special schooling I drove her to every day for mental health kids. And then I had, I just had around the clock. We had social workers that was going to come in and start staying with us. And I did everything way above Call of Duty. And one day she was at that treatment school and she says, I'm not going home. I deserve a better home. I have 4 of her younger siblings, and she deserves a better home. So she went into foster care and she went through a foster home every month for 12 months. And then they put her in, they call it Buckeye Boys Ranch. It was for boys and girls. It was like a mental health facility, but like jail.
Yeah, I worked in one for a day. I didn't like the way they treated the children.
And so she stayed there until she was 18. The day she turned 18, social worker come, picked her butt up, dropped her at a homeless shelter. And then she calls me and I go get her butt, But so I was just like, I don't know. We are who we are.
Everybody, you have to trust their path. I mean, they have their own inner guidance as far as their divine being. And I think I
don't trust their path, but we're going to agree to disagree.
What?
But I'm going to go. I think my husband made
You don't trust their path? Is that what
I don't trust their path. I trust my path for them.
Well, that's what I mean.
The world would be a better place if people would just listen to me. That's my motto.
Yeah. Like I said, I just think that people have a divine compass within them.
Maybe
some people
they
are
do.
lost.
Maybe they don't. Maybe I need it for them. I'm going to let them use mine. I'll rent mine out to them. Because I have a pretty good one.
Oh, that's too funny.
But yeah,
I do what you can.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.